Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. It's 9:02 and is July 10th. Wright County Board of Commissioners. We will call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, welcome everybody. The minutes from June 26th.
19th? Oh, it says the 19th on it, so I'll have to modify that.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of June 26th.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Hewsome regarding the minutes from board meeting of June 26th. Is there any questions, discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Review and approval of agendas. Anybody have anything to add to the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve today's agenda.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Batch, second by Commissioner Burrell. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Consent agenda. Does anybody have anything to pull for further discussions?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve today's consent agenda.
I'll second that.
I do have one thing that we are going to pull. Where is it?
Replacement of the social worker.
No, the, Steve, where is it?
It should be on the consent agenda.
Yeah, it is. Oh, that's what you're looking for?
The emergency operations plan?
The
Oh, under sheriff's,
approve the
yes. Yeah,
2018
That's
EOP.
Yep.
H.
Item H. We're going to pull item H, and Steve is just going to, for the
Okay.
public's, why we do it,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
why it's required, and that sort of stuff.
Mr. Chair, I'll amend my motion and let's make another motion then to approve the consent agenda removing item H.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Hewsome. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Steve, you want to come up and just give us a quick synopsis on why you're doing this?
You can just read all 250
Yeah,
pages out loud to us.
right.
That's nothing. I'm working on the update of the resource manual now. That's 900 pages. We're trying to condense that. And as I was telling the commissioner earlier, in the 14 years that I've been dealing with the emergency operations plan for the county, every time we go through an upgrade, we go through, it's a 4-year cycle on the plan that we have it reviewed by different entities. The 4th year is always an upgrade. The other 3 years are updates, where we just change names and phone numbers and those type of things. But on the 4th year, it's an upgrade, and that's what this year is. So the whole format of the plan this year changed drastically from what it was before. And every time we do that, that plan is shrunk. It's gotten smaller and smaller, which is good because it makes it more user-friendly. And we learn from when we go through drills and we go back to using that plan in our drills and exercises, we see things that need to be changed and make it more user-friendly for us. So that's why it gets a little bit smaller every year and more readable for everybody to use. Most of the cities in Wright County have adopted the county plan for their plan, and then they annex in the specifics for their cities. So we have gone through some training with a number of cities lately, and we've got more coming up that we do exercises with it, and we go back to that plan so everybody gets used to using that plan. So it's been a good experience. Now with Seth working with me, we've been able to do a little bit more on that. And like I say, we're working on the resource manual now to get that up to date and more condensed too, for the things that we really need. We look at it and say, how many times in the last 4 years have we used this? And if we haven't, we're taking it out and replacing it with things that we need more so. So it should be condensed as well.
Regarding availability to the public, there's a reason why it's not.
Yeah, there's information in there, phone numbers and private information that we don't want out to the general public. What we used to do a number of years ago, it went away about 5 or 6 years ago, we used to sanitize a copy and then it was put into one library in the county. It was found that it really wasn't useful. People weren't looking at it. There's really no, reason to look at it unless you were in first response of some kind. So that went away, so that's not done anymore. But anytime there's any question about the emergency operations plan or how we are prepared to handle issues and incidents in the county and events, they can sure call our office. We'd be glad to go over it with them. It's just that names and phone numbers are protected, so.
Thank you, Steve. Does anybody else have any questions? I just want to let the public, I wanted the public to understand why we go through this procedure. So.
Mr. Chair, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2018 Emergency Operations Plan as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Hewson. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Steve. Mr. Bob Hevela.
Hey, good morning, Board. Hey, before I get to my items, I just want to thank you for approving that consent agenda. I just want to echo Jessica has served in Becky's position while Becky's been out. At the same time, our number of transactions have gone up. MNLARS is not fixed, and we have the Real ID training coming up. So Jessica has done a fantastic job stepping up. So I thank you for recognizing her like that.
Mr. Chair, Bob, as long as you brought that up, are they going to be implementing the Real ID in October as kind of slated or hoped for?
Slated, yes. Matter of fact, we'll be closing for 2 days while our staff goes for training on it.
Okay.
So
What, 2 days? Have
Yeah.
you?
I don't have it with me. I think it's coming up here in August.
Okay,
So
but
We need to-
they'll be posted and,
it'll be posted, right.
That you get posted as soon as possible.
yeah.
So I don't have it with me here today.
And we can't do it in 2 steps or anything?
No, we felt that it was the best thing to just send all of our staff. We were able to sign up to have all of our staff go together, so we're all hearing the same thing. We thought it'd be the least inconvenience. Having half staff here and trying to serve the public having all the staff here serving the public is hard at best. Having half the staff here is,
Even more frustrating?
All right.
thank you, Board. The first item on the agenda is taking care of more of a housekeeping thing. Brian's going to come up and talk about it. But there's a sliver of land that should belong to the homeowners association.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, it's more than a sliver. That's why I brought along an aerial photo. This is in Rockford Township, and so there are, Westford Meadows is a development that has large lots along here. There is a outlot that is I'm assuming, it looks like it's a lot of marsh. But it was clear from the declaration that was filed when they did the plat that this was supposed to have been deeded from the developer to the homeowners association. It never happened. Taxes weren't paid, it went tax forfeit. We see this from time to time. The homeowners association has now made a request to the county for a recommendation that they get deeded this from the state. They're able to do that for no cost other than paying recording fees, things like that. And so the resolution you have before you is just to get these landowners, basically the homeowners association, back into ownership of that outlot.
Brian? Yep. So how will the taxes for that big area be split up amongst those homeowners then, or how will that work?
Mr. Chair, a tax statement will be, they formed as an LLC, basically,
Okay.
Westford Meadows Homeowners Association. So the tax statement will go out to whoever is the,
Chair.
I assume the
President.
chair or maybe the treasurer of that. It's always kind of dicey because people move or sell their home. Somebody may forget to pay the taxes at some point, but the law is very clear in creating this path for the HOA to get this property back. So
Okay.
That, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution authorizing the conveyance of the tax forfeit parcel.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Vetch. Resolution, Commissioner Burrell.
I just had one question,
Oh,
Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. So, Brian, the back taxes on this, because it went in tax budget, we're just writing it off then?
Correct.
And then, but from this date forward kind of thing, they'll actually, it won't be much anyway because of the nature of the land, so.
Correct, and I didn't look at what the valuation was on the
That's fine.
parcel, but
I
it's,
just
we're
wanted-
not talking about a lot of taxes.
I just wanted to make that clear. I vote aye.
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 Resolution carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Or the next item, I'm going to have Matt come up here, but remember we used Ron Ringquist for our redeterminations. Recently, we went to H2 overviewers. Matt's recommending another ditch to be used, or we're going to use H2 overviewers. So here's Matt.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I am requesting you adopt a resolution appointing H2 overviewers for County Ditch number 22. It's located...
20.
22.
Or 20, sorry, thank you. 20. It's in Maple Lake and Corinna Township. Commissioner Vetch and Commissioner Houston sat down with me, kind of discussed some of the problems going on with the system, showed them what the current benefit rolls is and where it's located compared to where the ditch is, and about half the ditch is currently in the benefit of rolls, so it's one that we should probably update as soon as possible. There's some tile breaks in the system that we're looking to fix sooner rather than later, so.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Vetch?
Matt, what do we, what's our list then? Are we doing 33, then 20? What's the priority list that we have for,
33, then 36, because they've already begun work on both of those, and then this would be the next priority
okay.
from there, so.
And then, because I think we talked to them and there was some potentially better pricing in volume. Was that was?
Yeah, if you do them kind of in that general area, so when they come out here, they're located almost by Grand Forks, so for them to drive down, it's a little bit of a haul. So if we can order some in the kind of the same general area, it makes it a lot cheaper doing it that way, so. But 20 is kind of just south of 36, so they're planning on doing the field work at the same time as 36.
Okay, good.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve a redetermination of benefits on County Ditch 20 using H2 overviewers.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Houston. Is there any other discussions? Resolution, Commissioner Potter?
Aye.
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 Resolution carries unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Adam's up.
Adam, IT Director.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
This morning, I'd like to request travel to another Infotech Live conference, as I was not able to attend the last one that you had approved for me to attend in Canada. This November, they are holding it in Las Vegas. Since I wasn't able to attend, Infotech took the payment that we gave them for the last conference and simply said, you can come to this one, no additional fee. We were able to cancel the hotel last time as well. So at this point, it would be November 6th through 8th, and it would be 3 or 4 nights depending on when the flights go out for the Infotech Live conference. Again, this is where they have one-on-ones, keynote speakers, industry roundtables, and different workshops, a lot of high-level IT things. Hopefully I could bring some value back that I'd like to attend.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to authorize travel for the IT Director to attend the Infotech Live in November.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Commissioner Burrell. Any other discussions?
Mr. Chair, or Adam, why did the one in Quebec get canceled, or what happened?
Oh,
there?
it didn't get canceled. I wasn't able to attend.
Oh, just
so
you weren't.
I had to back out, yeah.
Got it, okay, no problem.
It was at a time when we lost a number of employees, and it just,
Wasn't a good time to leave.
and I commend Adam for seeing that, and instead of running for the high hills and getting away from it all,
Leaving the country.
he stuck it out.
He fled the country.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Would have been nice if we could have said that. Where's Adam? He fled the country. Everybody left him. But no, I think it'll be very good. I'm looking forward to hearing back from you regarding, hopefully you'll meet some other county people and find out what they're doing and how they're improving things, because I seriously believe we can't do more with less without technology.
Yep,
And it's very important. I wonder if the state would figure that one out.
yeah.
They're dealing with DOS-based systems,
No, we're-
systems that don't work. All right, no more discussions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Looks like you're going to Vegas.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Mr. Chair, is there a chance that we can make a modification? I just see our two ladies waiting from the library here before we go through our,
all of our committee.
all of our committee minutes, so they don't have to sit through that. We bump item B in items from consideration above item A.
Well, I don't know, if we make them sit through that, they're going to learn so much more.
All right.
No, I agree, I agree. Ladies, we're going to,
I can do some talking, but if you guys have anything you want to say. Mr. Chair, fellow board members, in the past, the Wright County has made a contribution to the Maple Lake Library going back to probably almost over a decade now, or just shy of that. Kind of begun with Commissioner Swatsky, kind of on a every other year basis. Dollars amounts varied. I'm coming forward here with you today. We had a discussion back last year regarding budget time and trying to make sure that it would be accessible. To my understanding, that we should be okay if we went with the donation in the amount of $10,000, based that we had the conversations roughly around last year. If we did a donation out of 100, correct, would be where it would come from?
Traditionally, this has been paid out of 100 professional services.
In the amount of $10,000 is what I'm requesting. Looking for support from board members. I think the library itself being a 100% volunteer-based organization, that a lot of the members, cities and the townships around Maple Lake diligently support this organization, and it has a lot of value in the area.
Mr. Chair, I agree. I mean, they work hard. They've had great fundraisers, and it's a nice library and well-run. And, I mean, 100% volunteers, it's pretty amazing what they can do with so little.
I want to echo that too, because that's the part that's going to sell my vote on this, is that you're working hard. It's all volunteer doing it, and I think it's great that you support that way.
You know, it's kind of, it's interesting, because when we talk about our library being all volunteer, I think that people sometimes think, oh, there are these little gray-haired ladies that are sitting in a room with some paperbacks on the shelves, but they don't, you know, that isn't the picture of the Maple Lake Library at all. We're very professional. We have, we're very current, and I think very valuable for the area, and not just the city of Maple Lake. It's very interesting, because I'm one of the people that will enter new patrons, and the addresses vary from, oh golly, Rockford to, I've seen Monticello, you know, so there are a lot of people that do use us besides.
You're moving
Well, it's such a neat old venue too, that old movie theater.
But guess what? We are going to be actually expanding. We're going to move to a new site.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons why this contribution will be such a great help. If you've ever been in our facility, what is it, about 1,300 square feet? And we outgrew it probably 2 years after we moved in. And so now we're staying downtown Maple Lake. That was our goal, because we want to be in the heart of the city. And we're actually gaining 3 buildings. We're working with the landlord, and he's opening it up so that we will have, in other words, we're doubling our floor space. So we'll be able to serve, we'll be way more comfortable, we'll be so much more patron-friendly in our new home. So, like I say, this money will be really helpful as we make this transition, so.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve a donation in the amount of $10,000 to the Maple Lake Library.
I'll second that.
motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Hewson. Is there any other discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do appreciate all what Maple Lake does for that library there, the volunteer library, but I want the public to keep in mind that we spend north of $2 million a year to be a member of the Great River Regional Library, and that's quite a burden. We've taken on more of the cost share because of tax base and everything going up, and pretty soon we'll be overtaking Stearns County and the population end of it. So we'll be paying the top end of all these things. I also have gotten word from a few of the member cities that are saying, well, you're giving money to Maple Lake and they're not part of GRL. Are you going to give the same amount of money for us for reimbursing or for expanding, cleaning this? And I have a hard time saying yes to you and no to them. And I have a hard time saying no to them and yes to you on this because the cities have to provide that. And I understand this is interesting. I know you tried getting on the Great River Regional Library Board, the system, but they determined with their bylaws long before I got there, there's one in Annandale, there's one in Buffalo that's close enough for you that you can go to either one without undue burden to the citizens there. And we also had to lock in how many libraries we can actually function and operate within GRL to stay competitive and not be a cost burden. Our smaller counties are already crying that it's costing them a lot, although I beg to differ with them on it, but they still have that. So as much as I'd like to, I have a hard time giving 10 grand here when other entities say, well, you're giving them money, where's money for us to help upgrade our, because right now the burden of upgrading, all those are on the cities that have the existing libraries. And that's what I had to say about that, Mr. Chair.
Bob has a comment.
Okay.
Bob has a comment.
Yeah, Bob.
Commissioners, can we have the funding source be part of the resolution?
Yeah, out of Department 100.
100.
Yeah, that was earlier part of it, yep.
Professional services?
Professional services, yep.
And ma'am, I didn't catch your name for the record, I'm sorry.
Terry Mooney.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything? I do have one question. Commissioner Potter, Great River Regional Library, even though they're not willing to put one there, do they work with other local libraries, or they
That are not
because they're
part of
this?
GRLs. I have no idea to the degree that they interact with that.
No.
They won't
No.
do
No, if
anything?
we want any extra services, we'd have to pay for them. We'd have to pay them, like if we wanted ebooks, or I don't even know if we could get ebooks. But, and granted, we can go to Annandale, we can go to Buffalo, but we're part of the community. We want to,
It's important to our downtown and to people that live right in the city of Maple Lake. In the summertime, it's probably the busiest, would you say, at Story Hour, and it's just so convenient. Kids can walk to the library, spend time.
And you've got some, programs for them, and so, yeah, I was at that meeting when they were discussing some of the development and, some of the concept plans eventually about, incorporating the library into perhaps something bigger, community center and that kind of thing, and so that's pretty exciting too, if that comes to fruition, but, as you say, in the meantime, it's part of the community and a gathering place, in a place where people can walk to it. They don't have to drive to another city to get books, so.
And Mr. Chair, and kind of a comment back to Michael's is, if any of these cities that have a part of the library, have a great regional library, and they wanted to get rid of that library and take a $10,000 donation in place of it from the county to operate their own library, I'll happily make that donation. I mean, in comparison, what they're doing and what they're getting, we take that $2 million and then we dilute it out by all the other libraries. They're getting far greater than $10,000 in a contribution from the county. So I thank you for what you do.
I'd even say if they want to do all volunteer labor at their library, we'd give them $10,000 too. There's a couple ways of looking at it.
Yeah.
But I understand Commissioner Potter's thing too, because we pay this money all the way across the county already, and it does seem like it's duplicated, but it's really not. I grew up in Waverly. I remember the bookmobile would stop up, and we would be so excited as little kids. And it would have been nice to have a library in our town too, but we don't. You know, we have to go to Howard Lake or Delano, so.
Do they still operate the
Maple Lake.
bookmobile?
I don't know, I haven't seen a bookmobile.
No, that's been done.
Is there any other communities in Wright County that have a local library?
I don't think so.
Not in Wright County.
Yeah.
Not independent? No.
There is one down the road in, west of us.
Kimball?
No, go
South Haven?
South Haven?
Eden
further,
Valley.
further.
Eden Valley,
Yes,
Watkins.
Eden Valley, I think it is. They have an independent library.
Yeah, it's a different county. We don't care about that. They're not right.
Right.
I thank you, ladies, for all that you do and all your volunteers, and please let reiterate the sentiment from this board as a whole. As we really thank you and all of you for your work that you do to keeping the library active in the city of Maple Lake.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair.
Mr. Potter?
Nothing against what you're doing.
Yes.
It's the principles of finance.
Yes.
It's basically, if we say yes to you, how can we say no to the wayward children of Saskatoon then? You know, it gets to that point is people want us to be fiscally responsible with the money, and we are part of that Great River Regional Library System. We pay a lot of money into that to be part of that, and we're reaping the benefits of being part of that because we've got a very strong system in this county. We have, of the 32 branches, we've got 8 of them. You know, so we're doing well here. We're well represented on that board, and it's just tough for me to give the money because I know 2015 it was a contentious issue to give you money, and they came back in 2017, I believe it was.
Yes.
And it was voted down. You know, and now you're back again. So it's
Not like we're doing it every year, though.
No.
And it's a special because they are expanding and stuff. All right. Is there any other discussions? Not a resolution. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
aye.
Motion carries 4-1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Committee minutes. Commissioner Potter, would you please provide us with the 9/11 Planning Committee?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. The 9/11 Planning Committee met June 13th, 2018. I sat in for Commissioner Burrell, along with Commissioner Hewsome, Athman, Dahl, Dubois, Halverson, Hoffman, Tagaro, Virginia, and Wilczek. Others present were Asselman, Habish, Peterson, Kaufman, Nelson, Nivola, Stoller. I mean, the list goes on and on. Okay. Anyway, you get the idea. This is about the update plan of 911, and since I was sitting in, I'm not quite as versed on this as like Commissioner Hewsome, Commissioner Burrell do, and I believe this had to do some of the changes to 911 that are coming in.
It's only our second meeting, so you're pretty well versed.
Mike, you're right. You're right with us, okay? Don't sell yourself short.
I know the 911 plan, we have a lot of that, it's going to go to this safety orders, text to 911 to text thing. It has to do with updating some of the things here because every once in a while you have to revisit these. And Dubois was saying the update was made to the public safety answering point contacts and PSAP, and I apologize. It's one of those things you've got to read the whole chapter and verse here to follow along with it, but it's things that are needed to identify 911 calls within the county where they're at, because like I say, when you do it off a phone, it's pinging off towers and takes them a while to figure out where you're at. Versus a landline, it's pretty easy to tell where you come from. And they had talked the numerous pages within the future of the 911, the enhancements of those. Plus, we had the backup procedures. We're updated as well. Attached records related to pad generator testing. Pads will be tested quarterly with Sherburne County and the pad part is it's hard to explain unless you're an IT techie how that goes. But they have testing to make sure that it's actually working, which is kind of note because you don't want that to fail when somebody's life or death situation is sitting there. And the plan basically has a signature from, what is it, board chair, the sheriff is part of that. And the emergency manager, I think it's with Steve Berg or that office there would be part of that also. And If the board chair needs to sign, Hoffman will submit to a consent agenda item, and the question is whether the board chair needs to sign this or not. Maybe, maybe not, but they're going to dig into that and find out, and that's where Brian comes in. And then I'd say basically it's part of the continuity of operations plan. It ties in with the COOP for dispatch, and turn it as part of the SharePoint COOP plan. I mean, there's so many things convoluted coming together on this. It's hard to wrap your head around it with just one meeting here, but it is pretty complicated, but once it's done, and Commissioner Houston could chime in a little bit, because I'm sure she's a little more.
Basically, with the continuation of operation plan, if something happens that we can't operate our dispatch center, all operations will switch over to Sherburne County. So that's what's currently. Now, if we if the FBI center goes in, perhaps that's where the operations would move to, but that's something that's for future discussion and figuring all those out. But to let our people know that if something happens to our dispatch center, that we can continue operations with an agreement through Sherburne County. So.
Like Sherburne County, they'd have a same contingency over here if something happens to them, which is good. It goes on to basically, that's all just informational update. It has related to do with under the 911 public safety communications plan for I believe it's the whole state is involved in this one. And that was just informational. Technology update, they talked about the IES and SIP. And there's two more acronyms for Commissioner Hewsom's book. The migration starts July 17th with the actual conversion date being the 19th. And this is 1 year, the technology update, the technology committee is going to have to help me with this a little bit, because I know that what they talked about is there currently are only 4 lines, but based on our population and load, we need to be increased to 8 lines to handle the volume of incoming calls, which was an eye-opener with that one. We're half staffed to what we need to be to efficiency. So that was kind of like, it was good to hear that, just for the fact that, okay, now we know this is coming to us, and when all 4 lines are in use, it gets rerouted to administration, result in loss of caller information, which is not good, because if it's a life or death, then we need to make sure we can get to them people that need the help. They're not aware of the emergency calls that are missed, although there probably could be in this. So moving forward with that is you're probably going to see the county the department come forward with some hardware refresh. The lifespan of the system 911 system is 5 to 7 years, costs about $170,000 for that one. And then the original quote for both text to 911 and system refresh is allocation of $60,000 from 911 fund and $60,000 from CIP fund. With any additional cost, the upgrade is a rough $160,000, so we'll have to figure out where the rest of that money is going to come from on that. But it is needed that is originally stated for qualified 911 funds. The 911 hardware refresh is in the CIP, but when the prices come in, then you got to adjust accordingly. I mean, CIP is just best guess what you need for that. And the system refresh is slated for 2019, so that's just around the corner here. And that was informational only, but that was the technology update part was probably the most eye-opening part of this meeting, is how far we are behind on that particular segment of this. And then there was a presentation by Daniel Craigie about the Emergency Communications Network. And again, he's a program analyst with the Emergency Communications Network Division of the Department of Public Safety. There are what they say 102 PSAPs in the state of Minnesota, including Wright County, operating only within state guidelines. The state pays many expenses. Their budget is $72 million a year, all raised by a 95-cent fee on every telephone bill, which, so for people that look on their phone bill and see that 95 cents, you know what it's for now. Hopefully you knew what it was for before that, but a lot of people, when they see little fees on there, they just assume it's just somebody's wild spending on the Capitol, but this one actually goes for something relevant
Mike,
to public safety.
just a clarification, or point out that PSAP means Public Safety Answering Point. So in other words, basically dispatch centers, but it's a fancy way to say dispatch, but public, so answering points.
Thank you for the clarification, because because all these acronyms we get thrown at us on a daily basis.
Sometimes we forget what they actually stand for. We know what they are, but we forget what the words are
So there's 102 of them?
in the state.
in the state.
I guess. I mean, there's 87 counties, and
Yep.
of each county, and then there's some areas where you almost have to have ones
Right,
because
well,
of...
even some of the cities, not just Minneapolis, but, you know.
St. Cloud
like,
has their own.
St. Louis Park has their own, so different
Sure,
cities
Duluth probably has their own too.
has their, so, yeah, 87 counties plus all the cities. that
Yeah,
have them.
so I guess that isn't,
Yep.
excessive.
And then, thank you for that clarification, Commissioner Hewsome. So this is information only, how we're getting to that point. This is the changes to the system and how they fit in with Adam Tagaro and everything else we're doing here. The next one that came up, and this was another one, that's the update of the Armor System microwave tower. When we're putting up the Justice Center, the signal that's from just south of Buffalo, there was kind of interference with the microwave tower, so we talked about how we're going to deal with that. There's going to be
other way.
more testing to see where we either can raise it or move it. It'll disrupt the signal, which we don't want. There's a couple different ways to go about this. We can either do a temporary move, we can do a permanent move, we can make it so it gets redundancy from Enfield besides South, which to me makes sense. It's just, we might as well have that redundancy. We're looking at options of where we can move this, and it's still, that's where Alan Wilczek and Adam Tagaro and those people are the ones that are discussing best options, and that will come back before us. And as Wilczek was taking, putting up the tower in the Justice Center would be complicated, so just keep the current tower in the LEC, or the new tower makes sense. You know, with a new tower, it makes sense long-term, and that's what we're looking for. I don't want to put a Band-Aid on just to rip it off later and do something. So if we get a plan for a new tower that can do the redundancy, might be better off to spend that little extra now and just have it done correct. We could do a temporary move on the jail, just 50 feet to the east.
And that may have to happen depending, because of the time frame. So we'll see when the Justice Center walls are going to go up, we need to act before that, so, yep.
And it appears that microwaves do not go through concrete.
We can't put it on top of the Justice Center?
He said there was complications involved in that, and that's where I was trusting the guidance with Alan Wilczek to say what is the best long-range, long-term move for us. Is it out there? Is it a brand-new tower that just want to make sure I'm not just saying, yeah, that's the cheapest option, let's go there. Let's see which is the best option for us long-term.
No, I agree. I agree.
And all those will be brought back before the board to make a final decision on, because these are, depends on what the money is. We want to make sure everybody's aware of why we did that. So if you get stopped in public, what'd you move that there for? You should be able to give them an intelligent answer why we did that.
Maybe the second highest point in the county, a landfill?
Landfill, yeah. The new ski ridge, yeah. And there was a discussion regarding transitioning from fiber optics to the microwave signal, and whether fiber is needed at all. And again, these are other things that a lot of discussion is going to happen before they ever make a final call on this one. And we talked about the suggested target date of September 1st to get this done. It may potentially be early, depending on the construction schedule, stacking of the elevator shafts, because that's what's going to dictate how fast this goes. There was discussion regarding the use of the VHF systems and vendors, and I do know that the Alan Tagaro did get to go see our VHF everything in here for the first time. He didn't realize that some of that stuff was there. He does now, and I think he got a tour with Sergeant Sherber on that one to see what's all there, and so they know how everything works together. And then Dahl asked about whether consideration we give using an internal network for panic buttons or go directly to dispatch rather than rerouting to right hand up and monitoring. We'll all get information from Drew Sherber, the sergeant of the Sheriff's Department, regarding this panic button system, and they'll forward that and give us a recommendation based on that. And with that, Mr. Chair, I will approve, I make a motion to approve the committee of the 911 Planning Committee minutes and information.
I'll second that with a small correction.
Okay.
The second to the last paragraph, it should be discussion ensued regarding the use of VHF systems instead of discussed ensued.
And, Mr. Chair, I did want to, Lee, who did the minutes on here?
I don't recall if these were Sue or,
But whoever did it, I think they should be commended because they did follow our little hint of when they're using the acronyms. If you start from the beginning, every time an acronym is used, they have the thing spelled out. Deb did it?
Good
point.
Good job, Deb.
Yeah.
Because so every time, if you just, like PSAP, in the
Yeah.
third paragraph down, the first time it's used, it is spelled out, so. I like that. Thank you.
I did ask the committee too to kind of do that, so thank you.
Sometimes we read over it, but no, that's a great job, so,
Yep.
thank you.
discussed in this.
All right. And for the publics, all this information, again, is online under the agendas and packets on the Wright County website, in case Commissioner Potter confused you like he did me, because there is so much to these projects that we have to deal with.
There are.
And they're all moving parts, and we need to make sure they coordinate and not just retracing steps.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Houston. Is there any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Coordinator Kelly, would you please take the Committee of the Whole from June 26th?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee of the Whole on the 26th. We had 4 out of the 5 commissioners in attendance, along with several folks from the Sheriff's Department, the County Attorney's Office. I was also in attendance, but I didn't make the list, so just note that as a correction. Very summary minutes, as the Committee of the Whole consisted of the slides which are attached and staff from the Sheriff's Office presenting regarding some of their goals and challenges and potential future staffing issues. So the slides attached include the presentation that was given, brochure, the jail, Wright County Jail brochure, and the Sheriff's Office Current Reality, which was a document that was handed out at the meeting but not discussed. So the board met with the Sheriff's Office command staff to discuss operation successes and challenges. Time was spent reviewing each of the divisions, their duties, and their current staffing levels. PowerPoint was discussed. Handouts were sent to each member in attendance for review. It is a lot of slides, but those that are interested, there's a lot of information that's in there that was brought up and discussed. So very summary minutes, but as I mentioned, we kind of followed very closely to the slides. So with that summary of the minutes.
Thank you.
Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the Committee of the Whole of June 26th.
Second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Houston.
Yeah, it was a great meeting, I thought, and getting all this information was important for us to really see what's all going on.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Potter?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I concur with Commissioner Houston. Being there was definitely an enlightening, eye-opening experience about all the challenges within all the divisions, departments within the Sheriff's Department there, and future needs, because they were questioning whether it was, did you really get value out of it? Was it worth your time? And I told them absolutely it was worth the time, because some of these things you hear, but you don't sequence and coordinate them in a concise manner like this, so you see exactly what they're doing and seeing the challenges that they face out there. I would like to see if we do this like at least, maybe not yearly, but maybe every few years, couple years, 3 years or whatever out, just to refresh our memory on what's going on here, because this will help with budgeting when they come forward with a request for somebody. We'll have data to look back at and say, okay, this makes sense. We remember hearing about this. And this, like say, the slides are intensive here, but if the public really wants to see how in-depth the Sheriff's Department is, this is good reading for you. Again, I just applaud all they do out there for what they do and how they interact with the public and how it helps keep Wright County safe and the tax dollars, how they're being spent.
Mr. Chair, I mean, looking through the slides, it was a real tough day to miss that because being down in the St. Paul for a meeting with Excel, but it was definitely, just looking through the slides, I feel like missed a lot of good information, unfortunately, but it was a item that I needed to attend regarding the power plant
Yeah.
and the future of that, but do want to say thank you to the Sheriff's Department for putting together a detailed presentation just based on the slides alone.
Right, and you'll get a lot of the information from going through the slides.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you will get definitely. And Mr. Chair, one other item is on this one print here, the only thing that's missing is Sheriff Haggerty's little white escape all over the county. Because he tends to, give him credit, he's everywhere. I mean, he is visible all points of this county.
They should just make it like neon green or something.
One of the other things that I think the public will find interesting is that it compares us to Sherburne. On certain things, it talks about the different cases, the theft, the burglary, the drug crimes, different things that they've had to deal with since last year. Talking about the SROs, safety resource officers at the schools. One of the things that stuck out at me was, and I can't get this clarified right here, but they said a 258% increase in school threat cases. I don't know if that's nationwide or statewide. Either way, that's a very scary number.
In student threat cases, you
Yep.
said? I wouldn't doubt that was Wright County, but I don't know.
I know that yeah, here they had, oh yeah, no, it was Wright County, because in 2016, 2017, there was 369 cases, 12 being threat cases, and in 2017, 2018, they handled 502 cases, and 31 of those being threat cases.
Yeah, it's
So-
gone up dramatically in the last year.
Well, anyway,
What it is, it's like, there's no tolerance for it. If somebody makes any kind of a threat, it's not a joke anymore, and they're being looked into on it, so.
anyway, there's a lot of good information for the public for the future info. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Commissioner Potter, Owners Committee?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. The Owners Committee for the Justice Center met on June 27th. Members present was Commissioner Houston for Commissioner Burrell, myself, others present, Monica Trumper, Court Administration, Tom Kelly, Attorney, Chief Deputy Hoffman, Facilities Director Wilczek, Mitch Paulson, who's with the Contegrity Group, along with Kevin Curry, who's like he's the stat guy and the guy that puts together schedules with them, Pete Philippi and Lee Kelly. Wilczek opened the meeting, asked Contegrity to walk through the agenda meeting Paulson had provided, and he's the soup out there that works with Contegrity on our behalf. Provide updates on earthwork and site in general. Almost all the ground is moved from the Barrow site, and a couple days the portion of the project would be completed. They have done the elevator shafts and they're working steel will be coming pretty quick here. Schedule is distributed, which is actually was nice to see.
It was.
Those timelines when it's going. I think people can understand that when they see how these things sequence together, because if you've never been on a project like this before, it's hard to comprehend that, but once you see that, you'll see that A and B have to get done before C can be started and everything else, and how many things are continually going on while other parts are being plugged in. And the steel, like say the elevator shafts are up, and they've been waterproofed already, and I believe they were backfilled last week. I'll go out there and check again today. And the discussion was another discussion was the 800 megahertz tower that's come from Law Enforcement Center. That we talked about that before. Potential to do that, and that will be again on the June 20. We'll check in those met on 29th about some other details on that, and we're going to have that forwarded to us at some point in time. Hoffman asked about the cutoff of the sheriff's support building driveway when the stormwater pipes get installed, and Paul said it's had to be delayed due to not getting the utility lines located in time. Fiber was located, all the gas had not been pushed, it was not that, and so it had to be pushed down further down the schedule and coordinate that. But they anticipate that the driveway will be, that crossing will be removed, pipe installed, rebuilt within 3 to 4 hours, and there will be available driveway areas at all time to accommodate emergency vehicles when they need it. So they're aware of this coming in. It'll be a short duration of inconvenience there, and it's just going into the sheriff's department there. Curry also stated the schedule's tracking well. However, a couple days have been lost project due to rain, which is typical. That's why you factor those in. The roof, the building is planned for roof enclosure in March 19th, so it'll be all boxed in there, with the final entry roof be installed in A area, because they have it separated A, B, and C areas, will be in by April of 19. And approximately 1 year for interior finishes is planned after enclosure, which again, the courts take a little longer than a normal building because of the complexities within courts that are a little different. There's a lot more fits and finishes and more detail on these than your typical commercial building. Curry also had distributed a budget summary and current status. We'll walk through the change order logs as noted in here. You know, some of the things we know are coming up is we all like to keep change orders to a minimum. You know, sometimes things come up that you don't anticipate, like that the black dirt that wasn't where it was supposed to be. Things like that. That's why you have contingencies on these projects, the money, so you make sure you cover those. No change orders have been executed date. However, there's a review that has been drafted. Comments from the group that berm created on the north end of the property when we had that extra black dirt. Did we want to? We put the berm where the stormwater pond is. Do you want to keep it 5 foot high, level it off? And the consensus was to keep the berm there, because then the citizens that were concerned about seeing all that from the road, that'll alleviate their problems. Plus, it takes care of the extra borrow material that we didn't have anticipated before. So it looks like it looks good right now. They're going to shape it off and see how it turns out later. And they're just about done with that. In fact, they think the U.S. site work should be off that site right now. And I'll check on that today. There are no recommendations. This was just basically the kickoff meeting for this. And I think, you know, for Integrity Group, for how they've been on top of things. I've been out there half a dozen times already since it started, just to keep up on it and see if there's any problems. And Alan Wilczek has been just phenomenal on top of everything, which, I mean, this is how we're going to get a good project. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes, and there is no recommendation.
I'll second. Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Burrell. His voice is louder. Is there any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Personnel Employee Relations, Commissioner Hewsome.
All right. So the Personnel Employee Relations Committee met on June 27th, and present were Mike Potter, or Mark Leiden, Hewsome, and Sean Johnson, also Adam Tagaro and Lee Kelly. And the request was to hire senior systems engineer above the 12% minimum hire range. And our IT director, Adam Tagaro, stated that he has a candidate for the senior systems engineer. He has 9 years of IT experience in the systems engineering field. And if this candidate was hired, there'd be no salary leapfrogging of other staff members. The other IT employees that are in similar positions are already at the top of their range. And we had some discussion about the value of hiring someone with experience. And Tagaro said that this position is a senior level position, and the IT department needs higher level experience and technical skills. Also, this candidate lives in the county, is looking forward to working closer to home. So that's comment was also made about competing with the private sector for these types of positions, and the county, I kind of pointed out that it does offer stability. We're not going to go away like some private companies may. Tagaro stated this is a candidate who expressed a desire to work for the county, is also well qualified, and is requesting $80,000 per year. The range for this position is $61,256 to $85,779 per year. And Commissioner Potter and I both thought that this was important. This would be a valuable person to have on staff. We recommended hiring this senior systems engineer at $80,000 per year. And then we had a performance review for Tony Rasmussen, our assessor. And based on 4 performance evaluations received, the Personnel Committee recommends a rating of meets expectations. And the third item was performance review for Tanya West, our recorder. And my minutes got, oh, here we go. Here it is. The recommendation for the performance appraisal for Tanya was based on 4 performance evaluation. Received, the Personnel Committee recommends a rating of meets expectations. And with that, Mr. Chair, I will move the minutes and the recommendations.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner, excuse me, motion by Commissioner Hewson, second by Commissioner Potter. Any other discussions?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Potter?
Because I sat in for Commissioner Lydon on this, you know, we always talk about hiring above the minimum range, and it's contentious, and we don't like to be froggy in this. The other issue that came up within here is that when you have people, you hate to blame the millennials for all this, but a lot of them are job shopping. I'll take this job while I'm still looking for another one, and that causes chaos in IT. If you just get somebody up to speed and boom, they're gone, we start all over again. So I was real happy with the background. This person actually wants to be here, you know, so that they're not looking like a job shopper, and I think that's hurts a lot of us. So I'm happy with that to get there. And again, with the performance reviews of Rasmussen and West, I mean, we've got a great command staff here. I mean, we couldn't ask for anybody better than that.
Okay. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Commissioner Vetch, the June 13th technology.
So June 13th, IT committee met, a boatload of people. I'm not going to list all the names. First item discussed was the ERP Enterprise Resource Planning for the acronym piece. No real information to report at the June 13th meeting, but since that meeting, which the meetings that Christine will report, that we actually have a date set for the kickoff for the ERP with Infotech. But at this point, at that meeting was just real high level that we're moving forward with it. Second item was Office 365, and Adam Tagaro just kind of reported that the Skype and the Exchange Mitigation Project of 65 migration are being closed out, and they're moving on to the SharePoint part with the full kind of office suites, which will be rolled out in the months ahead. And they also talked about some licensing needs for some more licensing needs of O365 based on their calculations. So I think they're adding on, was it 30 more licenses?
Yeah, 30.
Yep, 30, right. Yep. The last item that was discussed was the IT project portfolio and the numbers of hours being spent on the variety of different projects. Kind of, Britta went through, once again, where we're working on, what we're not working on, and kind of moving forward with it. There's kind of ensued a variety of discussions and involved on what projects should be worked on and how much. Their recommendation, the other two were informational. The last one, the recommendation was, actually I should report on the cash tray piece a little bit. There was a discussion on cash drawer priorities for the different offices through Auditor Treasurer's Office. So there was a recommendation to continue cash drawer discussions at the next meeting and assign with committee approval administration as a sponsor of the enterprise project. With that, I make a motion to approve the minutes and the recommendations from the June 13th IT committee.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Potter. Is there any discussions?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Potter.
I am just totally impressed every time I sit in one of these technology committee with the staff from the top all the way down, how engaged they are, how much they care about fixing our IT issues that are there, you know, and they're not making everybody happy because they have to prioritize, but they are doing an excellent job, in my opinion. Every time I go there, I'm just more impressed with how detailed and how deep they're getting into things to make sure this all works for us.
Just don't tell the state. I don't want to lose any more.
Oh, yeah, okay, well, Scratch that last comment.
All right. And I'll echo that statement, that they are very engaged and
Yes,
very,
they.
professional.
Yeah.
and hopefully we'll be able to keep moving forward with our current employees. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. June 27th, Technology Committee, Commissioner Houston.
All right, yeah, that was my first technology committee in I don't know how long, but it was, I appreciated attending for Commissioner Delyden. So it was, and, yeah, or whoever I attended for.
Yeah.
You're
One of
both
our
gone,
two.
yeah,
One of
you're
us.
both gone.
Yeah, we're
So-
both learning about ditches.
Yep.
Well, we met on Wednesday, June 27th, and it was Commissioner Potter, myself, Tagaro, Spouty, Lee Kelly, Odell, Hibala, Job, McMillan, Hoffman, Hawkins, Meyer, Cooper, Holland, Wyland, Benedict, and Rassett. And the first item was the ERP, the Enterprise Resource Planning Update. And as you mentioned, the kickoff meeting with the ERP core team is scheduled for September 4th through the 7th, with Infotech will be on site at the county at that time. So they're identifying the scoping session members, and the subject matter experts will be needed to provide clarification at various points of the kickoff week. So core team invitations have gone out for the kickoff. That's recommendation is informational only. The 365 update, Adam Tagaro stated that Skype and the Exchange migration projects 365 are closed. The kickoff for the SharePoint of 365 was held this month with planning fully in progress. The 365 SharePoint online will be the first phase to online data, with 365 OneDrive following. It will be implementing after thorough investigation and research has been done. And Commissioner Potter asked if the highway vehicle tracking would be affected by this project. And Hawkins said that this is a standalone project not associated with SharePoint, but it was noted that it would be beneficial to have a product that could be accessed across the department similar to SharePoint. And Chief Deputy Hoffman added that the Sheriff's Department would like to be integrated for better tracking and decision-making. Again, informational only. The IT project portfolio update. Britta Holland, the IT project portfolio analyst, gave an update. The Exchange, 365 Exchange migration and Skype have been closed as the milestone pieces have been completed. The PA system upgrade has also been completed. A few projects are very near completion. OpenGov, IFS integration, and Crop Productivity Index, CPI. 703 work tickets were completed for the IT team for the month of June so far, which is very impressive. The highest effort projects for June were various IT staff spent most of their time were the Sheriff's Squad Car camera update. And Chief Deputy questioned the amount of time, and Tagaro answered there was a lot of time on the back-end server and system work for about 90 hours so far. Another large project was the 365 SharePoint Online Hybrid, due to the time invested by multiple staff to begin planning and kickoff. The Human Resources Electronic Document Management System was another big project, and Hotland will be sending out July resource allocations to staff and departments by the end of the month. So anyway, there's just a lot going on. Items brought for discussion was the FBI Sheriff's Office Long Range and Training Facility, and Hoffman said that the facility itself will be on a streamlined schedule, but we should put in place the planning and infrastructure for future items. Few of these may be moving the Emergency Management Committee's operations to the facility, as we talked earlier, and housing a backup data center, possibly a dispatch center. These all require the infrastructure to be built into the facility, and the actual completion of the areas could be done at a later date. Tagaro stated it is 8 miles of fiber that need to be laid, with estimates of this being between $300,000 and $400,000, having many variables with the soil types, etc. So we had some more discussion about that. If there is existing fiber on County 8 and 35, and we need to do some look into that. Our county surveyor suggested that drivers of the project look into the regulations surrounding sharing facilities with a federal institution. In effect, can the county share and use some of the facility space for local purposes? So that's part of the discussion. Auditor Treasurer Cash Register project was brought before the committee after being held over, and after the discussion was decided to do a risk scoping and planning in July and more thorough planning meeting in August to allow for the solution to be a long-term one, not just a Band-Aid. And this was fine with our Auditor Treasurer. And we already had this discussion a couple of times, but it came up again about the course facility and the microwave armor tower location, so you can just refer to those notes. And the recommendation was to continue investigating the FBI Sheriff's long-range and training facility plans, taking care to note the July deadline, schedule risk meeting for contingency plan for Auditor Treasurer Cash Register project, continue to move forward with discovery of solution of armor tower connectivity issue, being aware of construction progress and deadlines. And the fourth item was to change the meeting frequency format, and there was brought up, do we need to continue meeting twice a month? McMillan Court Services Head suggested having one standard meeting in place with the second meeting being an alternate. The alternate being a meeting that the IT could cancel if there's not a reason to meet, or if the information could be provided in an email. So that's another way to get the information out. The standard meeting would be the fourth Wednesday of every month, with the alternate being the second Wednesday of every month. So that's a recommendation. And the last item, with budgets for 2019 coming due, DeGarro brought up the IT maintenance changeout function currently in place with the departments. Presently, the yearly maintenance fee for on-base is about $85,000 based on department usage and divided out, and is a charge out is sent to the departments to pay for their share. Noting that there's 17 departments, the county divide a cost between. DeGarro stated this is a time-consuming process for IT staff because of the back and forth of the departments. It also takes longer for invoices to be paid. So based on a recent change to centralized licensing with 365, DeGarro is interested in moving these annual costs into the IT enterprise budget as well, as it's already been done with Wright. He noted that IT will need to be firm on governance of this process, as departments will need to communicate any changes that will affect in the back end. For example, a large increase in scanning utilizing on-base would increase annual maintenance costs. The department would need to plan for this and then make sure that IT is aware of it. DeGarro also noticed that any upfront license costs would need to be covered by the department, which is similar to on-base license purchases. Committee members were in agreement of this, and that is informational only. It almost took me as long to go through the notes as the 38-minute meeting that we had. With that, Mr. Chair, I will move the minutes and the recommendations.
Second.
Go ahead, sorry.
Motion by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner Potter. Courtney Kelly?
Mr. Chair, just a clarification on a couple things. Relative to the meeting frequency format, if I could suggest we just change the language to if an additional meeting is needed, it will be scheduled on the second Wednesday of the month rather than an alternate. For our office, it's a little easier just to have a standard meeting. If we need another one, we'll schedule
And then cancel it.
So the primary one is going to be the second or the fourth?
The fourth meeting, the fourth Wednesday of the month
Okay.
will be the primary meeting.
Primary.
If
And
we need
then-
an additional,
That's
we'll
starting at-
schedule one on the second.
Then
That's starting in August then?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. We did already have agenda items for tomorrow's date, so we
Yeah.
decided to
Okay.
continue through July.
So we might not have one in the
You might
second
Yes.
Wednesday in
You won't have
August.
it, might not have it the second, you might just have it the fourth.
Correct. I'm not anticipating an IT meeting on the 8th of
Eighth.
August at this time, so. And I guess one other thing, just relative to the budget centralization for charge-outs. I was planning on discussing this at our budget kickoff later in the week. Just wanted to be sure that it is listed as informational only, but we have, as staff proceeded in the budget process, anticipating that this would be improved. this process of having it more centralized. So just kind of an FYI along with that.
Yeah.
Well, and then it is broke down by departments
right.
later on in our, I can't remember that product that we use.
The on-base.
Cost allocation.
The cost, correct. And there was some considerations we did have to work through with that, but we've resolved those. So yes, we are able to still track departmental use of
Yep.
what it is.
'Cause
It
that's
just
important,
saves a
too.
lot of time
Yep.
and effort in billing this back for what we felt didn't really have much of a purpose. So if the board's okay with it, we'll continue to proceed, but I just wanted to give you a heads up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other discussions?
Yes, Mr. Chair. It was noted that that was the fastest, most efficient meeting that they had there. I'm going to pull it, Commissioner Burrell, I'm going to poke the bear this time.
I think it's because they know much more about it, so I couldn't,
Right.
I couldn't ask questions that I didn't know things about.
I think it is a good experience, so.
Oh, yeah, I mean-
For all of us
It
to
is.
swap around different committees so that we all understand what's going on.
For sure.
Mr. Chair, I concur with that because it's, when you come read the minutes and we haven't been part of any of the discussions, it's kind of, deer in the headlight look, but now you see some of what's going on, it's easier to follow along with some of the challenges and things going on and the sheer volume of issues you're dealing with within that department and how to make the whole county run better.
And the, strides that have been made in the last 5 years are just incredible.
And we still got a long way to go.
You've come a long way, though.
We just need to get the state to move along.
Yeah.
A little better.
That's the challenge.
All right, any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Schedule Committee of the Whole meeting to discuss abandoned cemeteries in the county. Commissioner Hewson.
So, Mr. Chair, thank you. I got word that someone is interested in being buried in one of our abandoned cemetery, and he's got family there, and so abandoned cemeteries, according to statute, are delegated to the county board. So I think that with I'm not sure how many abandoned cemeteries we have in our county, but 6, or I'm not sure, there might be more, that I thought it's good for us to sit down as a committee of the whole to have this discussion and how to proceed so we can get our procedures in place when these requests come up, because they may come up from time to time.
Who's taking care of them now?
What department?
In this particular, a neighbor is caring for the cemetery and has been doing the mowing and that kind of thing. However, it's essentially been abandoned since like 1920. So, yeah.
And Mr. Chair, that one thing I think it does need attention to, because we have some of these that they're being encroached upon, and I hope this hasn't happened in our county, but I read about it a few years ago, where a landowner just cleared it out and was going to make field out of it and stuff.
Yes,
So,
I have heard the same story, and I thought it actually had happened in our county, but.
I definitely support this, and I think we should just set a date and talk about it, because there's a lot of issues that really need to be
There's
brought
so
up.
many things that.
We should have a policy.
If we can get clarification, it might be something that we don't have to deal with, for another years, but it's there when it comes up.
Somebody told me when my great aunt passed away, and she was the last person to be buried in the old St. Michael Catholic Cemetery. And they said 100 years, or 120, I don't remember what number it was, from that last person that was buried, then things can be done to that cemetery with permission. So I'd like to find out what some of the laws are, the rules are, especially, we're not within 100 years yet, but.
Just 120.
Well, and Mr. Chair, it'd be good for us to have, identify all the cemeteries, abandoned, whatever, and have a procedure in place on how we handle this in the future for future boards to deal with.
Yeah.
This particular cemetery, when I moved out to Rockford Township, Crawford Lake in 1970, out goofing around with the neighbor kids, came across, I didn't even realize it was behind the old schoolhouse. Didn't even know it was there. I'm going, what the heck is this? And, you know, trees growing up around it, everything else. And yeah, it was a cemetery. And it wasn't had to do with the Lutheran church on the Crawford Lake. It was
No.
a different sect of
But
people.
it was another church that burned down, and essentially the congregation disbanded and joined other churches. So that's the church burned down in 1920. So I shouldn't say that the cemetery was abandoned in 1920, but that's when the church burned down and the congregation didn't no longer wanted to care for it, essentially.
Well, the people that were caring for it, I think, passed on is what happened to it. And say with the person is the son of a former sheriff who's actually taking care of it. He lives in the house right by it.
Yep.
He's been taking care of it, you know, but it needs to be marked out, identified what's going on there. Because like I said, and I gotta believe there's more than one of these. There might be a dozen of these things around the county. We should have this figured
Yep.
out where these are at.
So let's pull out your calendars.
Yeah.
How about July 24th? Kind of board day that day?
Well,
We have a pretty busy board day that day.
It's looking to be a longer agenda, but I still think we'd be able to do an 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock? Okay.
my only concern regarding that date, is that long enough to get research to find out? I mean, to have a meeting without knowing the laws, reviewing it, the statutes?
Not that much in statute.
No.
There's 2 chapters, one dealing with private.
Here we go.
And then the other
As long as
question,
I'm talking, I might as well get up. There's 2 chapters, Mr. Chair, dealing with cemeteries that I'm aware of. One dealing with so-called public cemeteries, one dealing with private cemeteries, which would be most of the church cemeteries. Just listening to the discussion, I'm thinking we're up well into the double figures of abandoned cemeteries in
Oh,
the
yeah.
county.
Oh,
because
really?
We've been contacted in the past. In fact, my most recent contact was from John Peterson, local attorney, who has a group that is you know, possibly looking at volunteering to kind of clean up an abandoned cemetery down in Commissioner Burrell's district. We've also had, the statutes, you should know that the statutes do, they kind of make it optional for counties. They say counties may do this. There's also a statute that says townships may step up if they so desire. And I don't know that we have any townships that have done that, but I do know that we've gotten calls before from people who are volunteers, live next door, and have been mowing an abandoned cemetery for decades. We've got others that don't get much care at all. So I don't think we need a lot of time. I think as long as we can make it to the meeting, we'll
Yeah,
fill
would
you in then.
would that work for your office?
That's a Tuesday. It should, yeah.
Mr. Chair, question, Lee. So if we decided to do something with this and we wanted to charge a department with the inquiries of this, what department would be ideal for that? And then should they be able to be at that meeting?
Well, that's the county attorney.
Yeah, I
Would
think
it be the county
the
attorney?
lead with the county attorney's office.
Okay, I didn't know who would be
Mr. Chair,
charged.
Commissioner Vetch, I don't know that we'd be the ones to be mowing or
I
doing anything.
was hoping he was going to volunteer.
Well, that's part of the discussion, I guess, you know.
You're gonna,
we would do
they said
any-
they already nominated. You can go up and tell Tom that you guys are gonna be mowing cemeteries.
Saturdays, he's got nothing else, he's not in court on Saturdays.
And I don't know if that really actually means that we do any kind of maintenance at all, but it's to make these decisions about if people are requested to be buried, you know, in these
Who do they
cemeteries.
call?
You know, yeah.
I know we
We
did.
get a call.
Remember a couple years ago, we did have, and that was a group with the Waverly American
Yep.
Legion that took on a project, and they cleaned it up, and they've been mowing it and taking care of it, so, and they came in and asked permission, and, but, yeah, that was, you know, that was really nice that happened, so.
No, you're right, though, we do need to get it straightened out so that the future boards, is one
Right,
less
well,
thing they gotta
when
deal
people
with.
come with these requests, we need to have, you know, something in place so we know how to
It'd be
proceed.
good for us to have all the abandoned cemeteries identified in one location, so everybody, we know where all over at the county, as much best to our knowledge, and have a procedure in place on how we deal with issues as they
You
come
know,
up.
I mean,
An inventory kind of thing.
and, you know, if someone has family members buried there and they want to be buried there, but who are they going to get permission from?
Mr. Chair, just a suggestion. I used to deal with a fellow named Charles Reland, I think it was, out of Delano, who was kind of a historian, for lack of a better term, and had chronicled a lot of these, but Charles has passed away, I think.
Yeah.
But the state archaeologist has some kind of record keeping as to cemeteries, and it may be worth contacting them. I don't know whether they'd be able to attend the meeting or not, but they might be able to send out a list of, here's what we have a record of in the county.
Perfect.
Do you want to go for July 24th? group?
Yeah, you want to make that motion, Derek?
I'll make the motion to meet on July 24th at 11 o'clock.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Burrell.
It's your thing, you don't even have to talk.
Any other discussions? Other than Commissioner Houston will make sure that we have all the information
You're right.
at our fingertips on that day regarding on how many
State archaeologist.
actually will be out there. Just think of it as research for the next book in your series.
Yeah.
You don't need to put that in the minutes. Alrighty. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side. Motion carries unanimous. All right.
Chair, I did have one thing. I just want to make sure I have a meeting tomorrow in Litchfield at 9 o'clock for the Crow and the One Watershed, One Plan. So I will not be able to attend building, and I want to make sure that that's filled by somebody.
Yep, I've already had discussions with Commissioner Potter, and then I'll be...
You're going to take care of it?
Yeah, because I have a meeting right after that one, so as
Okay.
long as I'll be here.
Perfect.
Instead of making Commissioner Vetch come in lots earlier, figure as long as I got one right after.
Okay, thank you.
He can have the next one. I don't know if have you ever been on one of the building committee ones?
Way when I first came in.
And that's why he hasn't been asked back.
I know.
Okay. Advisory committees, advisory boards updates. I'll start. Lots of things have been going on in the last couple weeks since we last met, but one thing I just want to talk about from last night, the park board met, and you'll be happy to know that there's a piece of property that when tax forfeited, it's 12 and some half acres. Large, it's on lake, swamp, the duck hunting lake, and DNR wanted us to take it over and put on a public access on it. And the park board said, no, it has been checked out through planning and zoning. It's a buildable lot. So it will be going on the tax forfeit property sales and beneficial to the county.
So what lake is this on?
You're talking Pelican?
No, no.
Is that on Henshaw? Is that up in Albion Township?
What's the
Henshaw?
lake?
Henshaw.
Yeah,
Henshaw.
yep. Yeah, it's 12 acres. I think it's on the southwest corner of the lake,
Okay.
which it's kind of a neat looking lot. But yeah, based off the setbacks, soil conditions, so planning and zoning need to go out and look at it to make sure it is a buildable lot. It's a lot of record. So we'll get that thing back on the tax rolls. So just want to let you know that we just don't take everything. Let the public know.
Yeah.
Other than that, with time, are we meeting at 10:30 or 11?
10:30.
10:30?
Got a lot of room full of people waiting for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
I'll go real
that's- yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
June 26th, I was down in St. Paul for the Integrated Resource Plan for XL Energy. This is one of a series of meetings that'll take place between now and the end of the year, where XL Energy will lay out their plan for the next 5 years and a forecast for their next 10 years as to where their energy sources will be coming from, which will give us a strong indication of what will happen with our Monticello nuclear power plant in 2030. That's going to be a lot of important information for us to watch, and that'll give
Oh,
us good information. I just want to let everybody know that I'm following it very closely.
Good.
That's all I have.
Commissioner Potter?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioner Vetch, for attending those, because it is important for Wright County to be at the table for those discussions on that, because that is a serious future concern for us.
What is your favorite saying, if you're not at the table?
On the menu. That's a fact. I mean, especially what's going on in this state. Just easy week last week. I was up at the lake the whole week, which is fine. This morning at 8:30, Bob Hevela, Lee Kelly, myself, and we've talked with Bruce Kimmel, Bond Counsel, and this had to do with the Trailblazer, the building in Buffalo here, and how we deal with this, because we're not taking over WCAT at the beginning of next year, and how do we do this, whether it's a bond, whether it's cash defeasance, there's a lot of different options out there going on. So this is what I see, and Lee, correct me if I'm wrong going forward, is this is probably going to be a committee in a whole on how do we deal with this, because we not only have this building to deal with, we also have the sheriff support building and everything else, just to make sure everybody's on the same page as the game plan on how to work this. I mean, we want to get this done now before the end of the year. We want to take it over, because keep in mind that we have about a $3 million renovation expansion to that building, because we have 3 buses now ready to go in service August 1st that don't have a place to park inside, which I don't like having that, because buildings seem to be there. The importance of this is it's hard to spend money on a building we don't have control of, we don't own. It's just best to get this solved. There's a few different players in here, but again, this is one that is enough where the whole board needs to sit in on this meeting, and that'll be coming back at a future date. I believe Bruce Kimmel's got a couple other issues that he's going to, when he comes back into state, he's going to address and put into a little summary for us on options on how to proceed with this. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Burrell, hey, when's the county fair?
I was going to talk about that at the end, but if.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Okay, Commissioner Vetch, Commissioner Delayden, and I were down at the Drainage and Water Quality Seminar in Mankato on the 27th, and none of them brought birthday cake for me, but that was okay. We had a
I
good
got one
time.
back there for you guys to share.
Yeah, there was a lot of things that were talked about and kind of related to our pilot project out on Ditch 10 to improve the water quality and the drainage in that area, so that was really enlightening. The fair, next Wednesday, July 18th to Sunday the 22nd, and Coordinator Kelly, what night are you playing, what time?
Saturday night, 8 p.m.
8
So
p.m.
the 21st,
Correct.
Yep.
21st at what time?
8 p.m.
8 p.m., so make sure you're there to
Man.
cheer on Lee.
And where is it, and do we get free passes to enter?
I don't know if
You
I
have
even
them
do.
already. But is it, if you pay the admission to get into the fair, it's, Lee's show is paid for by the fair.
Oh, it is?
nice.
Oh, so it's not in the grandstand? He's not that important?
He could have been, but we decided we wanted to bring a lot of people into the fair. So we're anticipating the extra draw of attendance will more than pay for Lee's costs.
Okay, so you're playing on Saturday, the 21st?
21st.
And it's at 8 o'clock?
Yep.
Is it true that he paints his face like Kiss?
The what?
Is it true that he paints his face like the members of Kiss?
Just gonna have to show up and find out, I guess.
That's all I had, Mr. Chair.
All right. I was at the Central Minnesota EMS meeting last Friday, or wait, the 29th, excuse me. Just a couple of quick updates. The naloxone, they continue to receive requests for that, and they donated 150 doses to our sheriff's office, and those 2 doses have saved 2 lives already. So, I mean, that's just amazing. They have this, it's called a SimMan, and it's an advanced life support mannequin that they can check out. They have 5 people that are trained on it. It's a pretty expensive unit, and so they're trying to do some training on that. The AED. They've completed a survey for where the AEDs are located, and 100% of the law enforcement has completed the survey, so they're beginning with the fire departments and first responder groups. And seatbelt dollars, I keep mentioning that, are down because of compliance with people using their seatbelts, and that's one of our main funding sources. So we continue to lobby with the state to find a more stable funding source for the project. For grants, we give equipment grants and training grants that we've had to cut back on because of these dollars.
Fines for texting. Gonna ask for that money.
I have said that for several years now.
Yeah, that one's on the rise.
Yeah,
Yeah,
distracted driving.
yeah. Probably that one just overall.
Yep.
All right. Lee, do you have anything?
Yeah, a
you need to
couple
add?
things I should mention.
Oh, darn it.
I'll try and be brief. I know we do have a meeting pending. Mr. Derringer indicated to me that a member from the FBI will be flying out on Friday to talk about the MOU and kind of the logistics of things. I don't know if commissioners are interested in attending that meeting at 1 o'clock on Friday.
1 o'clock?
Okay.
If so, we should authorize attendance to that. I didn't know if just building committee or the whole board or who was interested, but.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to authorize attendance at the meeting on Friday at 1 o'clock.
Correct.
Second. And where will that be located at?
I think 118, yeah.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Potter. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Lee, question for you on that, because if a majority of us show there and there's any discussion in terms of anything, then it would actually be a committee of the whole, then it would be a authorized attendance, because we'd be discussing business. You know, that's the only reason I'm saying, just
Sure.
because I wouldn't want us to get to the point where like, yeah, well, we could probably do this dirt work now, or any kind of, because otherwise we'd have to keep it very, very
No,
informational.
It would be a
only make
committee
re-
of-
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with just being authorized attendance, but I mean, if we have any discussion whatsoever as a group, then there, you know,
Well-
should be minutes from it.
It's a committee of the whole,
It's
essentially.
a committee of the whole.
No, is it, because we just authorized attendance, so we, you know, there's a difference, because there won't be minutes from it unless we make it a committee of the whole, then there would be minutes from it, when there could be a recommendation.
And I guess I raise it because I don't know how many of you are interested or planning to attend or available to attend.
I don't think I'll be able to attend.
I'm not sure if I will either, but.
If there's a majority, it might be easier just to post it as a meeting.
Yeah, I think, I would think we,
It wouldn't hurt to post it.
no, I think it should be posted, but I don't think it should be considered a committee of the whole.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I clarify what we're doing on that, that's.
Yeah, I don't think it should be a committee of the whole at this point.
All right.
Okay,
Not going to jail.
You're just getting some preliminary information.
I just didn't want to show up and all of a sudden all five of us are there and all of a sudden we're having a discussion and going.
Great.
Then we probably should have made this.
It'll be made clear.
All right, you have anything else?
Just passing along my condolences to the Hagen Miller family. Their son passed away last week, I was told, so I don't know if the board had heard that, but, so. Nick is the Howard Lake City Administrator. His son had been ill for a while, so.
When did that?
This little guy.
It was, yeah, I was told last week, Friday, so I just wanted to mention that.
Well, our condolences to the family. Thank you for
Thank you
letting
for
us
letting
know.
us know that.
I did not hear that yet.
And where'd you say that was on Friday? You're not sure you're gonna,
118.
118? Okay.
Right.
Anything else to bring us before the board? Does the press have anything urgent to add?
Not really urgent, but I just wanted to congratulate the county on going 8 months without a roadway fatality.
Oh, yeah, nice
I met with
article.
the sheriff's office and Safe Communities last week, and we had a nice sit down and got lots of
Yeah.
information, so.
That was a very good article.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Absolutely. And speaking of articles, you see Ed at all?
Yeah, I actually just talked to Ed last week.
Okay.
You doing well, enjoying retirement?
Oh, yeah, he's busy.
I noticed that I haven't seen a bunch of letters to the editors correcting your,
Well, that's good.
yeah. All right, we are adjourned at 10:34.